Kedves hallgatóink! Önök a Goodwill Pharma podcastjét hallgatják. Gyógyszerforgalmazó cégként küldetésünknek érezzük, hogy az egészségről szóló témákat a leghitelesebb forrásból ismertessük meg önökkel. Épp ezért orvosokkal, gyógyszerészekkel és más szakértőkkel beszélgetünk az egészséges életmódról, megelőzésről, gyógyításról, valamint a legújabb kutatásokról. A mai adásunk rendhagyó lesz. A vendégünk dr. Olasz Harken, aki Szegeden született, viszont évek óta az Egyesült Államokban praktizál bőrgyógyászként. A beszélgetés most angolul fog zajlani, hogy a doktornőnek a páciensei is könnyen megértsék. Szó lesz a fényvédelem fontosságáról, és megtudhatjuk, hogyan maradhat sokáig fiatal a bőrünk. A doktornő beszélgetőtársa Jójárt Rebeka.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm here with Olasz Harken. She is a Hungarian dermatologist and she is working in the USA as a board-certified dermatologist and also as a professor. How are you, Edith? What brings you here today to Goodwill Pharma?
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. This is great. I mean, it's wonderful that we can talk about our product. So I'm excited to do that today.
Yes, I'm very excited too because I'm a huge fan of this product, what brings us here together. So nowadays, I'm really curious because nowadays longevity and health is a huge topic. It's so popular. Everyone talks about it. And, we all consider our cardiovascular, mental health, physical health. What can we do about our skin?
That's a big question, Ravi. But yes, we talk about now so-called regenerative medicine. So the same thing for our skin. So there is so much we can do. The most important thing is, I think, to really prevent aging or slow down aging is sun protection. Because skin aging and also, of course, skin cancer is induced by UV light in the sun. But skin aging is 80% UV light induced and about 20% genetic. So that is one of the biggest thing we can do.
Okay, so you say it's the sun that harms us. So we should consider the UV light. What about the environmental effects like blue light and our other radiations?
There's so much talk about blue light now, and there is some truth in it. Because medicine and biology is not black and white. So we know that the far spectrum of UV light is UVA, and we know very well that it's also very harmful. It causes melanoma, so type of skin cancer. It causes tremendous amount of oxidative damage. It goes really deep, so this is the UV light that causes aging. And blue light is just next to UVA light. It's the first visible light. So obviously there is not a short cutoff. We call it 400 nanometer. But it's very, very close. So blue light is also somewhat harmful, and it's been proven in an animal model. But of course, that light has much less energy. So you need much, 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 much more exposure of that UV or that blue light to cause the same amount of damage as UVA light.
Okay.
But you asked about other damage. So in our environment, there's a ton of other kind of damage that can cause oxidative stress, like pollution, smoking, for example. And I call that the silent corrosion. So just think about an apple. You cut an apple in half and put it on the table, and by overnight, in the morning, it's all brown and start to kind of shrivel up. The same happens with our skin too. So we need to think about that silent, slow erosion and corrosion to our skin, and that's skin aging.
Okay, skin aging. This is like a popular word that you can read in a lot of platforms. So, like this silent corrosion and oxidative stress. Can you talk about a little bit, because maybe it's not that obvious for a lot of people what is exactly this?
Sure. So, oxidative stress is basically free oxygen radicals that are really harmful and causes a lot of different damage in the skin. That is that, for example, gives a stimulus to melanocytes or pigment-producing cells to produce unwanted pigments, so it gives us the sunspot or even the melasma. It also I call it chops, so breaks up our collagen and elastin, so that causes the wrinkles and the fine lines. It also oxidizes lipids, and lipids are the little bit of the mortar between our skin cells, which is the bricks. So that damages the skin barrier, so makes your skin unhealthy and makes your skin dry. And of course, through oxidative damage, we know that we can damage the DNA. So long term, just like UVB light that directly damages the DNA, it can also cause cancer. So this is a sort of a really important part of skin aging, next to the direct DNA damage, what is caused by the shorter wavelength UVB light.
Okay. So we can consider skin aging as starting with an inflammation, basically, from the UV light. Is that right?
Yes, oxidative damage can cause inflammation. DNA damage can also cause inflammation, but it's not that visible of an inflammation, and that's why I call it's a silent corrosion, because mainly, for example, with sunburn, that is caused, by direct damage to the DNA and causes a lot of inflammation. But there is some inflammation caused by UVA damage as well.
Okay. So Edith, you look beautiful. Your skin is very healthy. What are you doing? What do you recommend to your patients to protect themselves from the radiations, from the UV radiation?
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I have to thank to my mother first. Because although I'm a dermatologist and although I'm really into skincare, to tell the truth, so much is genetics. But I tell my patients all the time about the A, B, C, D, E, Fs, but mainly ABC is the most important. So for their skincare, A stands for vitamin A, which is actually retinol. I'm sure you heard about it. It's kind of the gold standard of anti-aging skincare. It is the most researched, most proven ingredient that actually can stimulate collagen and helps with the fine lines and wrinkles. So that has to, if people can tolerate it, and most people can tolerate it, that has to be used, and that has to be used in the evening. B stands for broad spectrum sunscreen. Okay, so that is a must. Obviously, I tell my patients, don't spend your money on all kinds of procedures. If you don't use sunscreen, it's not worth anything. So that's for B, sunscreen and sun protection. That also includes a hat and sunglasses and so on. C stands for vitamin C or any other antioxidants. Because I told you, antioxidants are needed very much, and they're kind of the second line of defense, I call them. So the first line is the sunscreen, and the second line, the soldiers that really are inside of the skin, and the sunscreen is on the top of your skin, sort of. Those are the antioxidants. So that goes for the C. And then the E or the D goes for disease or dermatitis or dermatological problems. So after the first three, really whatever I find as a dermatologist, that's an extra problem. If you have acne, you need an acne medication. If you have melasma or pigmentary disorders like sunspots, you need something that blocks the disease pigment formation and something that turns over the skin cells. If you have rosacea, you need an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant medications. So those are just added things. And the E and the F is for exfoliation. I think exfoliation is important because it, again, helps to turn over the skin cells, makes your skin brighter and nicer. And F is whatever fashionable. Because
great.
every year we come up with something new. And if you don't have an idea for something new, we recycle things like niacinamide. Niacinamide during COVID became such a hero ingredient, and everybody thought about it like as if a new discovery, although niacinamide has been used for 20, 30 years. So I'm saying it's like fashion. When you don't come up with something new, just recycle the old fashion.
Sounds great. And I also really like this A, B, C, D, E, F, because if I would be your patient, I would easily remember what did Dr. Edith recommended me. So I really like this. So let's talk about sun protection a little more. As you mentioned, there are the physical protectors we can use clothes or hats to protect our skin against the radiation. What else can we do to protect ourselves? What can we take? What are these mentioned antioxidants?
Yeah, so obviously you're asking about the supplements. So, you know, it's so interesting that there are some ingredients it's been studied for a long time that you can not only protect from your skin from outside, and although I think even sunscreen should contain an antioxidant. And we can talk about that, how sunscreen is an anti-aging cream, in my opinion, not just a beach, cream. So we know that certain antioxidants and certain ingredients can basically increase the skin's resistance to UV light. And the biggest one that has been studied most is Polypodium leucotomos. It has so much literature, both in murine or mice or animal models and human models. We know that it definitely increases the skin resistance, it decreases the UV-induced DNA damage, it decreases the UV-induced, sun-induced inflammation, decreases the sun-induced immunosuppression in the skin. We know that people who take it can stay out on the sun a bit longer. And we know that people who have pigmentary diseases, if they take it, or melasma, for example, that it doesn't come up, or it protects them from recurrence. So there is a ton of evidence, really a plethora of literature that it works really well.
Sounds like an amazing ingredient. It's a fern. And what do you think? What do you recommend? How should I take this supplement?
This is not something that you take like, oh, I'm going on the sun and pop one in, So as opposed to sunscreen, I'm going on the sun, I have to put this on now. And this is best when you take it days ahead when you are preparing to go to the beach. I mean, this is how people think about it. I think about it very differently. I think about it is an everyday supplement for the skin, an everyday protection from the skin. Because we always, no matter where we are, we always get some light. Even through the window, we get the UVA light, which is the most damaging as of oxidative stress comes through the window. So I'd like to, just as I'd like to change people's minds of using sunscreen every day because it's the most important anti-aging cream, topical, cosmetic, and in the US it's actually an over-the-counter drug you can use. This is an everyday. Brush your teeth, put on your sunscreen, and pop in some supplements. That is an anti-aging supplement for your skin.
Okay, so we shouldn't forget about the everyday or the average radiation, what we receive on an average working day. Okay, so let's talk about a bit about your story. You position this special supplementation for sailors. What about sailors? What about their skin?
So, how much time do you have?
I have all the time.
All right. So basically, I just want to go back, if you don't mind, a little bit, not just sailors. I just want to tell you a little bit of my story. So, as you know, I was born in Szeged, and I went to medical school here, and I started to work at the Department of Dermatology. And even as a medical student, I was really interested in research. And as a matter of fact, shortly after I graduated and started to work in the dermatology department, I went to Germany and spent some time in the laboratory and in the clinic, specifically studying photobiology or cutaneous photobiology, which is basically how the light and the sun interacts with the skin. So that interest came from very early. And I went to the United States to do more research, and my research was mainly immunology. Then I gained a PhD in that. And then I started to work, and my interest shifted to skin cancer, and especially high-risk skin cancer in organ transplant patients. So these patients are immunosuppressed, and that's why they have a much higher risk of skin cancer. And we know that, not interestingly, that we can reduce the new skin cancer number, the incidence of skin cancers in these patients when we use strict photoprotection, sunscreens. So that was my daily spiel. Every day I told these patients, you need to make sure you're using sun protection because immunosuppressive medication themselves will not cause skin cancer. You have to have the UV light in order to cause skin cancer. So that kind of got me back to the field of talking about sun protection all the time. And then I happened to marry my husband, who's very much involved in the sailing world, and I traveled a lot with him. His name is Peter, and we always, we go on the boat, and then it turned out I was a dermatologist, and then they started to ask me about sun protection, and I realized that sailors are almost like my transplant patients. They're super high risk. I detected a lot of skin cancers. They had a lot of issues. They were surprisingly really interested in sun protection, and unfortunately, most of them had no clue what a good sunscreen is. So then I started to think about developing sunscreens, and I started to think about how I could help this high-risk population that are the sailors, because they're always outside, especially the professional athletes. So, and the cruisers who go around the world and they just live on a boat. So 2015, there was a paper in the New England Journal of Medicine, a study from Australia that showed that taking nicotinamide, which is sort of an antioxidant plus, we can talk about it, what it is, but taking nicotinamide for a year in high-risk population, because Australians are so high-risk, they all, light skin and very high UV index in Australia, taking that supplement reduced the number of squamous cell carcinoma, almost 23%, basal cell carcinoma, and the precancers called actinic keratosis, about 10%. So, and we know that drug very well, not the drug, it's a supplement very well, because we do use it to other diseases, for rosacea, for example, for blistering diseases. So we are very comfortable with that supplement. And also, as I mentioned, we already knew the power of Polypodium leukotomos as an adjunct supplement, sort of sun protection for patients. So that made me think that, and there were actually already some supplements that combine those two, but I felt like it would be super cool to develop one for sailors. And then I thought, what else do we wear outside on the sun? We wear sunscreen, we wear hat, we wear long sleeve shirts, and what else?
What else can you do? Sunglasses.
Yes. So I said, it is also so important to protect our eyes, because there's so much reflection and the water, and so I said, let's just do a supplement that has both, that kind of mitigates and lowers the protection, the UV-induced damage, both to the skin and to the eyes.
Oh, it was so thoughtful of
Yeah,
you.
and then I think this is how this supplement is different, because it has broad protection both for the skin, for the eyes. So I thought that it has to be like a 360 protection for this high-risk population, not from outside, but from inside too. And this is how the whole story of the supplement in one sentence.
It's amazing. Thank you, Edith, for speaking about it. It sounds amazing. So basically, as I understand, we can take this supplementation when we are worried about our skin on the daily basis, or we are exposed to the sun so much, for example, taking sports outdoors, or even when we are worried about our eye health. Is that right?
Yes. So I imagine this is something, again, to change the concept of recreational sun protection. I would like to really change it. And as a matter of fact, I tell you honestly, in the United States, it's already completely changing. All my patients are every day putting on their sunscreen, and women use tinted sunscreen, because that tint serves as an extra protection, bit about for the blue light, and also that's their foundation. They don't even use, they have beautiful skin
Two in
because they
one.
see me, so they don't need to take on something that covers blemishes. They have beautiful skin, so they use a sunscreen with some tint in it, and that has antioxidants, so it's an anti-aging sunscreen. And then my recommendation would be also to take a supplement
Okay.
that helps your skin.
Okay, great. So, do we have anything else to discuss? What do you
I
think?
think we can discuss what else is in the supplement, because
Okay.
I told, we put polypodium leucotomus,
Yes,
we put
and the other
niacinamide,
supplements.
and then we put coenzyme Q10, which is
Yeah.
a very well-known, I think that doesn't need introduction, a very well-known antioxidant, some vitamin E, that is also very well known also. But for the eye protection specifically, it has lutein and zeaxanthin, which I think it's perfect because, as you know, you guys, and there's a lot of literature in the ophthalmology research that those supplements really protect your eyes. And then there are some elements, copper and zinc, that helps the zinc. It helps the immune system. Copper actually helps the collagen production, and it's an important element. So it is a very good combination. I think very well-run combination, and is different than most of these other supplements that are available.
Okay, so in the USA we can find this product under the name Harken Derm, and in Hungary under the name Dermobil.
Yes.
What do you recommend? How many capsules should we take?
Yeah, so in the USA, it's Harken Derm, and we named it Sun Pro, which is basically sun protection or sun protection for professionals, and for everybody. And we recommend to take 2 tablets, one in the morning, one in the evening. And I think that has to be, our study shows that it's best to start about a week before a very extensive sun exposure. My recommendation would be to take it every day, at least 1 tablet. But when you know that you're really extensively will be exposed to the sun, I would take 1 tablet twice a day.
Okay. And for example, I'm not, but if I would be a so light-skinned person, could I take it every day, for example, if I'm worried about my health?
Absolutely.
Skin
So
health?
so these supplements for sure been proven to really, really increase the resistance to sun in light-skinned individuals. And why do we say that light-skinned individuals? Because the way we tested the same way that we test SPF. So we test the medium erythema dose, or test how much basically sun is necessary to give you some redness. And in a light-skinned individual, it's so much easier to measure because you can see it much better. I'm not saying that a darker skinned individual cannot burn. They actually can burn, but it's much more difficult. So it's been really shown for the lighter skinned individual, this testing, that it helps. But we know for sure that in darker skinned individuals that are really prone for pigmentary problems, they have the sunspots, they're more prone for melasma. This supplement has been helping with those problems. So also we know that people who have sun allergies, like there is something called polymorphous light eruption, when you basically get a rash from the sun, if people take it, it also really helps. So there are some other conditions that no matter what color your skin is, it will still help.
Okay. Do you use Harken Derm Sun Pro in your everyday work at the clinic? Like, for example, are there any therapies that it's helpful?
Absolutely. I think, as I told you, if somebody have really light skin, so very prone to sunburn, if somebody struggles with melasma or sunspots, if somebody has a rash from the sun, I would recommend them all. Or if just somebody wants to stay young and have a beautiful skin, because as I told you that no matter how much sunscreen you use or sun protection, there's some sunlight always comes through, and then still there's other environmental damage than sun. So it's just really, it's a very good supplement for healthy skin.
Okay. Thank you very much, Edith.
You're welcome. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you very much. And it's a great story, and I already want to take this product.
You should, although you have beautiful skin, but let's keep it that way.
Thank you. I will try. So let's talk a bit about sunscreens. You can buy so many kind of sunscreens at pharmacies, at drugstores. What should we choose? What kinds there are?
Well, I get this question all the time, and definitely there are so many sunscreens that it becomes, we have this expression, paradox of choice. When you are paralyzed because there's so many jeans in the store and you can't decide which jeans you actually you should buy. So it is very difficult to decide, and definitely I think people need some guidance. So sunscreen needs to protect you in a broad spectrum, because although sunscreens measured and people only look at the SPF, sun protection factor value, that only measures UVB protection, okay? So the burning rays, we call them UVB. It doesn't really measures UVA rays, which are the A for aging rays. So although the higher the SPF is, the more likely it will give you UVA protection, but there are some SPF 30 that has very good UVA protection and SPF 30 that doesn't. So first of all, you have to look at that. And the higher the SPF, the higher the chance the UVA protection will be good. I like to have a water-resistant sunscreen just because I know that will guarantee that it will stay on your skin. So it's not going to be rubbed up when you're sweating and so on. And usually water-resistant sunscreens are just better sunscreens. And then, you need to look at ingredients. And in Europe, it's kind of tough, I tell you, because Europe doesn't take out the active ingredients, the filters. It's all listed, so it's very difficult for consumers to really look at. In the United States, it's easy because we have to kind of separate on the label the filters. So it's easier for the patients, but that's why you have to have a dermatologist who tell you which one to use. So with the filters, there's two main categories. There is the mineral filters, or we call them inorganic filters, and the organic filters or chemical filters, although I tell you the minerals are actually chemicals as well, so it's a bit misleading. So there is some old dogma, which is a misconception that people think the mineral filters reflect the light. They sit on the top of the skin and just reflect the light like a shield. It's actually not true. 95%, way over 95% of way the mineral filters also kind of help is absorbing the light, because now they're so small particles. So they also absorb the light. But the chemical filters or organic filters definitely absorb the light. In the United States, we unfortunately don't have many of those organic filters. So for us, we definitely like mineral filters. Here in Europe, you have very good organic filters as well. But the main thing is you need to have broad spectrum. I personally still like zinc very much because it has a very broad spectrum reflection and it's very safe. We know that for sure it's not absorbed in the skin. And we can have now zinc that is micronized, not nanosized, but very small, so it's more transparent, doesn't give you that much of a white cast. So the next ingredient you have to look at is antioxidants. So it's, again, sunscreen is not just a sunscreen. It isn't complex, sophisticated anti-aging cream. So I like sunscreen that have antioxidants. Now, it's a very difficult topic too, because it's very difficult to put antioxidants in a sunscreen that maybe sits on the sun, because they just want to scavenge oxygen, so break down very easily in a product like sunscreen. So you have to have very stable antioxidants. And then you would like to have some ingredients that stimulate collagen production, and they're peptide, for example. and other ingredients. So that is the real anti-aging and anti-wrinkle part of a sunscreen. So then preferably you may even want to have ingredients that help with blocking some of the pigment production. So for me, sunscreen is, again, very complex.
Okay.
And then I like tinted sunscreens for women. Obviously, men are a little bit difficult with a tint because they think it's a makeup. But tint is a very nice addition because it gives you extra protection. It's a ferric oxide and gives you extra protection. And again, you can use it as a foundation. You don't have to use any makeup anymore.
Okay. How often should we apply sunscreen when we are out of the sun?
How often? You have to do it every day, but when you're out of the sun, that's a super good question. So you know, both EU and in the United States, labeling requirements tell you to reapply it. In the United States, say reapply it every 2 hours. To tell you the truth, those rules were made when the sunscreen chemistry wasn't as good as now. Our film-forming chemistry that gives you that extreme water and sweat resistance is so good nowadays that there are literally sunscreens that you can apply once in the morning and leave it on, as long as you're not doing activities where you're really sweating or lots of water exposure or rubbing it off. When you start to really rub and towel, then it comes off. So officially, I should say you apply it every 2 hours. But I do believe that the really good quality sunscreens, they don't need to be reapplied.
You don't need that.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good news for today.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Edith.
You're welcome. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you very much.
Ha tetszett a műsorunk, kövessen bennünket, így nem fog lemaradni újdonságainkról. A műsort a Goodwill Pharma támogatja.